and I'm talking to Mr. Advani at his bookshop on Hazrat Ganj in Lucknow. I take it from your name that you're from a Sindhi family.
Yes.
Can you tell me where you were brought up and where you happened to be at the time of partition and the turbulence before partition?
I was born in Hyderabad, Sindh in 1920. Subsequently, my father migrated to Lucknow. I studied here at the school and college, university level. The family had business in Pakistan that goes back to 1912, which my mother's father, my grandfather from my mother's side, had started. So they asked me if I was interested in joining the family. I didn't know that the partition is going to come. I joined them as soon as the Second World War finished. That was in June 1944. I joined them, thought I'll give a trial whether book selling is worthwhile. Before that, I was in the school at Bishop Cotton, Simla. I felt the canvas was too narrow. I needed a larger perspective in life, and maybe the bookshop might give me that feeling. I went as an apprentice in Rawalpindi. It was I just took to it, and I told my uncle I want to be in the family bookshop, and we were lucky to get a shop on the Mall in Lahore. It was released to us in our name, and the firm was at that time called J. and Sons. Well, it was a large shop, bigger than any other bookshop I have known in this country. And soon after that, the partition came. The trouble about this partition in Lahore, the agitation started as early as 1946. In January 1946, Sikandar Hayat Khan, I think, was the chief minister, and there was agitations every day. On the Mall, it was an everyday procession protesting in favor of Jinnah. So we felt this will pass off. I never realized the partition will take so soon. And by June 47, Mountbatten had announced this partition plan, and we still hoped that Lahore will be neutral in the sense that still Radcliffe's award was not yet told. No one knew what Radcliffe has said. So there was a rumor that 48% probably is Hindus and 52% Muslims. It's touch and go. We held on to that, to Lahore. Although we left Rawalpindi and other areas, hoping that Lahore might still be part of India. But by June we realized it was not possible. It was in flames. By June 1947, Lahore was in flames.
When did you first realize that the protests, the disturbances at that time weren't simply another small episode of political unrest, but something greater than that?
One felt that the British government will gradually ease the situation and give India not absolute freedom, but within the Commonwealth something will happen. We never realized that the agitation will take a turn like it did. At least most of us didn't realize that will take place. And so actually I think it was by the end of 1946, if not a little earlier, we realized that it was going to be difficult to stay in that part of the country.
What did you see of yourself of the rioting and disturbances in Lahore?
I was living in an area where in the night we used to stand we didn't have arms and ammunition, but there's a feeling that if you're together you are safer. We did that, but we realized that should an attack be, because it was half Muslim, half Hindus, but the Muslims had a stronger hold. And we realized that it was impossible for us, especially I was with my cousin who was only about 20 years old. We realized that this is not safe. So we moved out and came to above the shop. There's a residential, we had a residence, and I went and stayed there. to get away from this turmoil that was in the area we were living in.
Can you give me some sense of the extent of the turmoil? What did you see? What did you hear? How bad was it?
It was pretty bad in the sense that in the middle of the night, when people are shouting Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, the Hindus on the other side were also shouting probably Jai Ram Ji Ki or whatever it was. It gets you a very creepy feeling. We were very uncomfortable, and although there was, we were friends with the families. They kept assuring us not to worry, and we will stand by you. But one could see that there was a lot of hoodlums who used to come and shout in that area, and the local people had no control over them. And I feel now that the police were looking the other way, because the police in Lahore at that time was mostly pro-Muslim, or they were mostly Muslims. This is my feeling.
What steps did you take to defend yourself and your cousin?
I had nothing whatever except a lathi, and stood there hoping that nothing will happen. But it was, when I look back at it, I think it had no meaning. I mean, if they had attacked us, there was nothing we could do. The mall was safer because the army was there, and through some common friends who were powerful both at the government and other level, we were secure. But in July 1947, even our friends told us it would be safer if you sell the shop and go away. It's not worthwhile to stay on. They meant well. They helped us right through to get through across the border. But they were right that to hang on there had no meaning unless one could want to change one's religion. Then I think there was a way out there.
I've read Babsi Sidhwa's Ice Candy Man, which is set in Lahore at just this time, which are stories of people simply watching the city burn. Did you see buildings aflame at night?
Yes, I saw it fairly regularly. I am told that it aggravated after June 47, but during my time there, I saw a lot of Lahore burning and a lot of shouting, which really made you feel very unsafe.
You were scared?
I was scared. Yes, I was scared. But when you are young, you seem to feel there's hope something will happen, and in desperation, I decided to go back to Simla and see if I can get some shop. And I left Lahore for Simla. The train came through all right. I am told, and I am inclined to believe, that the next train never reached Kalka. And when I was in Simla, I again saw the other side. There were Kashmiri coolies who were being stabbed to death. Near the railway station in the tunnel, I saw some people. These were very poor people who were laborers, who were just carrying grains or Kashmiri coolies they were mostly. And they would suddenly be attacked. I occupied a house which unfortunately I didn't realize belonged to a Muslim family. And the next day they came and told me that you are protecting a Muslim, you better ask them to go, otherwise you'll also be you'll be in trouble. He was a lawyer, he was an advocate. He immediately, he said, I realize it, but what can I do? I can't go. Ultimately, they did manage to escape. But there were many other good friends of mine in Simla who were Muslims, and we gave them protection. I knew it was a little dangerous. I even took one or two to Bishop Cotton School to give them protection. And they did go through, but their homes were all, they left their furniture, they left it like that. And unfortunately, after that, there was no way to contact them. Neither they could contact me, nor I. It was when Bhutto came to Simla for the comment that we started corresponding. Before that, the letter might go through London, but still one never got through.
It's a quarter of a century that you were out of contact.
Yes, we got in touch after a quarter of a century. Some of the friends I did.
You mentioned the train journey.
Yes.
It cannot have been a simple affair at that stage. When are we talking about? June 47?
Yes, I'm talking June 1947. The trains, there was always this danger, but there was no other way to come out. The flights were for VIPs. There might have been some flights to Delhi and other areas, but as far as I was concerned, there was no other way. We couldn't go by bus. The only thing was to take a train and take your chance. I came out all alone, and I must say I had no problem on that particular day. But I felt that I was lucky to be through.
And had there been train massacres before that time? Were people aware that travelling by train was dangerous?
Yes, they were very much aware of it. There were hordes, thousands of people with the poor people with their luggage with the bedding on their head, or carrying with arms, children in their arms, all trying to walk across. It was sort of a pathetic sight. It was heart-rending. And not everyone even could travel. And how could they travel with such a lot? Because they wanted to take all the homes, carry with them. That's not possible. But they tried to do it, and a lot of them were brutally murdered or assaulted, and a lot of young women were really taken away by them. But I wouldn't say it happened only on one side. It happened both ways. It would be wrong to say that the Muslims are the culprits and we were, it is not that. The Sikhs were very agitated, they were very upset, and when they came to the other side, they retaliated. And that could be seen in Simla, although Simla didn't suffer so much, but there was unnecessarily attacking these poor people there.
You say that you heard the train after yours, out of Lahore, suffered a different fate. What did you hear about that?
What happened was that I reached Simla, and some relatives got the information that the train was attacked, and they thought that I was in the train. So telegrams were sent to my uncle and to my aunt and to my parents in Karachi, to friends in Lucknow, to say, where is Ram? And they all thought that I was in that train. The reply went that they checked with me in Simla. I got those who got the telegram, and I wrote to them, I'm here. So they said, we heard the train was attacked. Subsequently, I did hear that the next train did not come to Kalka, and it was attacked. A lot of them were killed or murdered, but the train I came through came safe right through to Kalka.
And from what you say, what you saw in Simla was at least as bad as some of the things you've been seeing in Lahore.
No, Simla hadn't taken on the retaliation because it was still early. People still, the affluent had come to Simla. They were very upset, annoyed, but they were not retaliating. It is the common man who suffered, and he felt very strongly that how dare they do this to our family and we'll retaliate. In Simla, there was a lot of disruption, but there was law and order was fairly good, and people didn't retaliate the way I saw in other areas. Because subsequently in September, I think there was a little more agitation in Simla in September 47. By the time the partition had taken place, a lot of people had come from the plain, but still Simla could not hold the very poor people who had suffered. They could not come to Simla, and therefore there were more trouble in the plains than in Simla.
You say, whereabouts was the stabbing of the Kashmiri coolies?
In the tunnel. I saw them being stabbed on the Mall Road in Simla, near the Clark's Hotel. I saw it with my own eyes. And we used to hear, but it is true, I had one or two friends who volunteered to go and help in St. John's Red Cross. And they used to come and tell me in the evening that so many people were stabbed. So, and they would not give wrong information. It is correct that a coolie walking on this in Simla on a lonely road would be attacked from behind and stabbed or something like this happened. But it was not in very large numbers, but certainly it was there.
Whilst you were in Lahore, did you witness similar stabbings there?
Yes, in the area I was staying in, I can't recall the name of the street now, but it was a very thickly populated area, and we used to hear a lot of Hindu families being stabbed, and I didn't hear of any rape. I did not hear of anyone taken away, but I did hear someone knocking at the door. The door would open and he would be stabbed to death. The reason being he was a Hindu journalist. That sort of a thing happened. So they were marked men who were politically inclined or writing articles. That kind of people were marked men in there. Also, subsequently, the fact that you were a Hindu and you could be stabbed or burnt, or anything could happen. People lose their sense of proportion. They don't know what there is a frenzy, and you had to be there to believe what could happen. It really left a very deep mark.
When you got to Simla, you were safe from the immediate turbulence of partition.
Yes.
Have you been able to go back to Lahore or Rawalpindi?
I wouldn't want to go back. I had opportunities to go back. I have friends who invited me, but I've got such happy and pleasant memories of my stay especially in Lahore. I was young. Lahore was a very lovely city, and I enjoyed my two years there so much that I want to keep that memory. I don't want, if I go now, it will be very different, and I want to retain that good image I have of my lovely days in Lahore when I was a young man. I wouldn't want to go back.
Did all your family cross over, or was?
I was alone. My other members of the family were in Karachi. Most of them were in Karachi, and they took the sea route and went to Bombay. So most of them went to Bombay. I came to Lahore, and other members of my family who were part of the bookshop came to Simla subsequently, and we tried to live in Simla. And then by October 1947, one realized that Simla is a very nice city and very gay, and there's a lot of gaiety. The Punjabi gaiety was very evident, but inside there was a feeling of wanting to settle down, and a bookshop cannot flourish when there is no peace. Also the climate, the people, I felt that this was not a place for a bookshop. I mean, selling a ladies' home journal in homes and gardens is not sufficient to run a bookshop. And despite the fact that we were very lucky to be on the center of the town, on the Mall Road, I felt that I should move out. And so I decided in winter 1947 that I should go and see if I can open a bookshop somewhere else. I came to Lucknow because Professor D.P. Mukherjee, the great man, and Professor N.K. Siddhant, Professor D.N. Majumdar, they were my teachers in the university here. And it is they who encouraged me to come to Lucknow. It is they who helped me to establish my bookshop here. And luckily, Acharya Kriplani was the president of the Gandhi Ashram, and he knew us from Lahore. Being a Sindhi, the Sindhis seemed to know each other very well, and he gave me shelter he gave me a shop, 1/4 of Gandhi Ashram, because the Gandhi Ashram was just going to be established. Before that it was a soldier's home during the war, and they decided to release the premises and open a Gandhi Ashram. Acharya Kriplani was the president. I talked to him, and he felt sorry for me, and he said, all right, I'll give you a small portion of the shop, provided you will move out when the opportunity, I mean, this is to help you out. Fortunately, and after 2 years, Lawrence and Mayo, who were occupying these premises in Mayfair building, decided to wind up. the manager, Mr. Larkins, happened to know me, and he just hinted, would I be interested in this shop? I immediately felt this was an opportunity. I must say, in their favor, they kept to their words. They never took a penny out from me. They gave me a shop, and all that they said was that this lovely furniture that we have, if you would buy it, it's sufficient. And a paltry sum of 5,000 was paid to them for the furniture. Otherwise, I had no problem at all in occupying. I full marks to Lawrence and Mayo the way they did it. They could have minted money, they could have done anything, but they did not.
You'd been in Lucknow as a student before partition.
That's
came
right.
Back to Lucknow after partition. How had the city changed?
Completely. The city before 47, or it started, may I say, deteriorating. As soon after the war started. I would say 42 onwards is a landmark. Lucknow started changing after 42. The skyline kept, you could see it changing, and the buildings were coming up. Lot of money was made during the war by the middle class, and they wanted to possess lands and give it on rental. So the whole areas were, at that time there were no restrictions. It was not difficult to obtain buy lands. A lot of people took advantage, and the whole scenario changed after that. Of course, after 47, when the refugees started coming here, places like Alambagh and all were fully occupied, and the onslaught was like floods. The only good thing about Lucknow at that time was that there were no communal riots. No communal riot at all. Gave full credit to the administration. The refugees must have been wanting to take advantage or retaliate, but the UP government was firm, and the law and order situation, at least in Lucknow, was something to be admired at that time.
Lucknow, in cultural terms, it was in many ways a Muslim city.
Yes.
How many of these prominent Muslims had left by the time you arrived?
The prominent Muslim, not many had left. It is the artisan class, it is the average middle class who felt that there was a paradise for them at the other side. So they left, not knowing what they were going in for. They just felt that is something they should go. So number of people, some members of the family left. The whole families didn't give. That is why you find now a number of people, half the family was this side, the other was that side. And there was a lot of anguish in them. But then at that time they also didn't know by going once they will not be allowed to come back. And I have a feeling that from the better Talukadas family, not many went. They had too much interest here. There's so much vested interest here. They had lands there. How could they just go away like that? People like Mahmudabad, who were close colleagues of Jinnah, did go. But then their son never is an Indian citizen even today, very rightly so, and he was educated abroad, and he lives in Lucknow, and I feel very correctly that why should he also volunteer to go to Pakistan just because his father was friendly or helped Jinnah. I can't say about many families, but I'm inclined to think that the Talukadas family did not leave Lucknow and migrate to Pakistan.
Looking back now, after almost half a century on partition, do you think it was a necessary evil or something that could have been avoided?
It could have been avoided. There would have been trouble maybe for the next after some time, but there would have been compromises. The two communities could have lived together, and when I come to think of it, I wish the partition hadn't taken place. It was more a political agitation. The people were not so against each other, and if they had to live, you start living together. You find a compromise. Riots did take place even when there was no partition. But I think these things could have been sorted out. Um, India would have had a larger image even than what it is now. And the partition has brought us a lot of miseries even today.
What miseries today?
See the situation in Kashmir. Look at the amount of money. That money couldn't we have spent on education or bringing up the thing? In Bengal also. Yeah, all these. Well, it's all in Burma and Sri Lanka were part of India at one time, but they were separate. But the breaking of this country on the whole, I think, has not been a very good idea. As far as when I come to think of it, we would have lived together in harmony. Maybe it would have taken some time, but I feel it was possible.
Thank you very much. Thank you.